So look at Anthony Ryder from South Lyon, Michigan, recently selected as the Lions 2020 Fan of the Year. He has a passion about sports broadcasting.
With the 112th selection in the 2021 NFL Draft, the Detroit Lions select Amon-Ra St. Brown, wide receiver, USC. One pride, baby! Yeah! What is going on, everybody? Welcome back to another Detroit Lions video. Now, the Detroit Lions had their first day of mandatory minicamp yesterday, and we got a really good look at a lot of different things. We got to see what players are playing with which team. We got to say which players were with the first team, which players were playing with the second string, which players are kind of in between both, and which players are standing out from mandatory minicamp. Now, today I wanted to give a quick update video. I wanted to kind of talk about the first day of Lions minicamp, talk about what was good, talk about what was bad, talk about some standout players, as well as how far and how improved the Lions have become since OTAs a few days ago. See if the problems are getting better, the problems are sustaining, or if they're even getting worse. So today I want to cover everything about the first day of Detroit Lions minicamp, starting off with attendance. Now, unfortunately, even though it is a mandatory minicamp, not every player was in attendance for the Detroit Lions, as starting linebacker Malcolm Rodriguez is missing more practice with an undisclosed injury that he suffered throughout OTAs, and he has not been back on the field since leaving practice early on day 4 of OTA practices. Now, Trinity Benson and offensive tackle Connor Galvin also were not in attendance for the first day of mandatory minicamp. Now, it's very possible that they were there and just weren't seen in a jersey. It was very possible that they were there and they were working inside with trainers. There are a lot of different scenarios other than they're just not attending a mandatory team event, but they were not at the very least even on the sidelines or seen on the sidelines throughout the first day of OTAs, which is a little bit concerning, especially for Malcolm Rodriguez, who is continuing to struggle with an injury, but hopefully it's a precautionary thing. We haven't heard very much, or at least I haven't seen very much about Malcolm Rodriguez, and at this point, there's just not a lot of information. Now, there were a lot of players on the sideline for the Detroit Lions yesterday, players that weren't quite medically cleared to go, but players that were on the sideline. They were there with their team, and they were at the very least going through mental reps and working with trainers on the sidelines. Those players being Levi Onwuzurike, the former second-round pick who was just medically cleared to return to practice a few days ago, James Mitchell, who's been having a really good OTA and has really been a standout throughout OTA practices in the summer. Frank Ragnow, all-pro center for the Detroit Lions, is continuing to suffer through a toe injury and is taking a couple days off for medical reasons. Chase Lucas, the 7th-round pick from 2 drafts ago at this point, also sat out and was on the sideline with the trainers. Hendon Hooker continues to work side by side with Mark Brunell as well as Ben Johnson. Although he's not medically cleared, he is doing everything in his power to be involved with the Detroit Lions offense. And then David Montgomery officially returned to practice, but wasn't officially on the field during drills or during 11-on-11s. He was mostly working with Ben Johnson on the sideline as well as the trainers doing stuff off the field, but was slowly getting back to where he wanted to be, hopefully returning to the field at a similar timeline to Malcolm Rodriguez. Now, talking about the risers of yesterday's practice, Sam Laporta might have been the biggest riser on offense. He got his first real chance with the first team offense, and him and Jared Goff immediately had a chemistry going on. 2 touchdowns in team drills and already being Jared Goff's top red zone threat throughout OTAs and throughout minicamp. As I said, him and Jared Goff already kind of developing that top tier chemistry, already developing a really good red zone chemistry. And there was a lot of good clips of him and Jared Goff working together, including a really well thrown football from Jared Goff that just snuck over the fingertips of Alex Anzalone and was caught in the end zone by Sam Laporta with a nice toe tap catch. And it was just a really good chemistry thing to see. Now, Brian Branch, after having a lot of slow days at OTAs, a lot of days off the field, was incredibly impressive throughout the first day of minicamp. He played primarily with the second team defense, but was a really good player, showing really good closing speed, something that he was kind of knocked for throughout the pre-draft process. Showed really good closing speed on a lot of different passes, as well as showing his as well as showing his incredible football instincts, having a crucial pass breakup in 11-on-11 drills against Maurice Alexander. And we're going to talk about Brian Branch a little bit more later, so I want to move on to Jameson Williams, a player that's taken a lot of flack this offseason, a player that's taken a lot of hits, and a player that is just continuously being talked down about by the fans and the media. He had a really good day of minicamp. The drops were less of a concern. The chemistry with Jared Goff was clearly a step ahead of where it was throughout OTAs, and that was on full display during team drills. We're on third and 4. He settled in between the zones on a really nice timing route. Jared Goff hit him right in the chest, and they picked up a crucial first down to keep the offense going on the 11-on-11 drills. And you could see that the chemistry was there a little bit more. You could see that they were a little bit more comfortable. You could see Jared Goff put it right where Jameson Williams was, and that Jameson Williams was right where Jared Goff wanted him to be. Those two are continuing to build a connection, and Jared Goff is building a connection with a lot of the young wide receivers and looked to be much better throughout the first day of minicamp than he was throughout OTAs. Now, Ifeatu Melifonwu is a player that continues to impress. He did unfortunately lose a couple reps to Sam Laporta in team drills. However, for the most part, and all throughout training camp and all throughout OTAs so far, he's been really, really good, right? Unfortunately, did lose to Sam Laporta in the team drills, but is consistently knocking receivers off the routes, being a physical receiver, and for the most part, not being targeted by Jared Goff in the first team offense very often, right? When they have targeted him, it's been pass breakups, it's been interceptions, and when he's been in good coverage, they've been willing to look other ways. They've been willing to look at Cam Sutton. They've been willing to go to Jerry Jacobs. They've been willing to test Kirby Joseph before they've been testing Ifeatu Melifonwu. And for a player that is playing multiple positions and a player going into his third season, Ifeatu was having one of the most impressive OTA periods and mini camps of the entire Detroit Lions defense, which says a lot because the defense is playing incredibly well throughout OTAs and mini camp so far. Now, taking a look at players that are getting first team reps. Now, obviously, these aren't all the first team rep players, but these are the players that I thought were really interesting. Craig Reynolds, with David Montgomery officially out for another day of practice, was taking first team reps with the Lions offense alongside Jahmyr Gibbs, and was actually the first player to run team drills, as he was kind of first in line, getting a lot of reps with Jared Goff and getting a lot of receiving work with quarterback one. Now, Sam Laporta, as I said, is taking a lot of reps with the first team and the second team. He kind of moved back and forth, but him and Jared Goff are getting a lot of chemistry and a lot of reps together, and it is a really, really good thing to see that the rookie tight end is now being the second player to really work their way into the first team reps. Of course, Jahmyr Gibbs was the first, and now Sam Laporta is potentially joining him, probably splitting, I'd say, about 50-50 reps with the first team and the second team. Now, Ross Pierschenbacher is taking first team center reps with Frank Ragnow officially out, and I think this is kind of a big deal because obviously you signed Graham Glasgow to potentially be a center / guard, but with Pierschenbacher potentially taking more reps at center, that leaves you with more of a pure guard in Graham Glasgow, who has been taking a lot of first team reps and rotating a lot with Halapaloe Vaitai as that first team offensive line continues to move around and change as injuries and rest days are brought up and gone through. Now, Derek Barnes is taking first team linebacker reps again at minicamp. He did so at the last two practices of OTAs and is continuing to do so at minicamp, while Jack Campbell stays down with the second team alongside Jalen Reyes-Maybin, with Malcolm Rodriguez officially out so far. And then Tony Romo was taking a majority of first team kicker reps, but didn't have the greatest day. The wind kind of threw him off a little bit. He did miss a couple of kicks that Riley Patterson made, and I'd say that kicking battle is continuing to go back and forth. However, Romo was taking a lot of the first team kicker reps and was looking to be the team's favorite kicker at this point throughout the offseason. Now, to finish off the video, I want to talk about a spotlight player. I want to talk about a player that wasn't talked a lot about throughout OTAs, but is making a lot of plays in mini camps so far. That player is Brian Branch, the second round player from the Crimson Tide, a player that was projected to be a top 20 pick and ended up falling to pick 45 until Dan Campbell and Brad Holmes decided to make a trade and go up and get the versatile defensive back. Now, Brian Branch was playing primarily with the second team, I don't believe took very many reps, if any, with the first team defense. But with that second team defense, he was phenomenal. Played slot cornerback, played safety, and played a little bit of weak side linebacker, and had multiple pass breakups on the field. He dropped into coverage from a linebacker standpoint, had a nice pass breakup versus Maurice Alexander. He played the safety role where he drove on a nice in-breaking route and forced an incompletion again against Maurice Alexander, and played a lot of slot cornerback where they just simply didn't test him. He was sticky in coverage, didn't allow any separation on the route, and just showed that he was a really, really good player. His instincts were off the chart. His instincts looked incredible throughout the first day of minicamp. And one thing that he actually was kind of criticized about throughout the pre-draft process, being his top end speed, was even kind of a good thing throughout minicamp, right? He showed a really good closing ability. He was able to close on a crucial pass breakup in 11 on 11s and ended up winning the rep for the defense simply based on his closing speed and his athleticism alone. So I think that Brian Branch is potentially going to reach some first team reps on the defense as well. The defense, the secondary especially, is very loaded with guys like Tracy Walker, Kirby Joseph, Ifeatu Melifonwu, with CJ Gardner-Johnson, with Jerry Jacobs, with Cam Sutton, Emmanuel Mosley officially returning to practice. So there's not a lot of space for him to earn playing time, but if he continues to play this way on the second team, there's a good chance that he's going to find his way onto the first team sooner rather than later. And I think he was the best defensive player and the most exciting defensive player of Detroit Lions minicamp day one. So with all that being said, that's all I got for you guys today. Let me know down in the comments below what your takeaways are from the first day of minicamp, what you're excited to hear about, what you're maybe not so excited to hear about. And of course, just leave all of your thoughts and comments in the comments section below. If you did enjoy the video, please make sure you go down below and subscribe to the channel. Helps us out a ton. And if you hit the bell notification, you will never miss a Detroit Lions upload. But with all that being said, that's all I got for you guys today. Thank you all so very much for watching. And until next time, and as always, go Lions.